Good morning. It is the 30th of June. We have a short week this week because of 4th of July holiday, but overnight last night in the futures market, we have pushed up to a new high. This red line was the old high, and we pushed above that. And I've got a red line now at the old new high. So they've run this thing down a little bit. I expect this to rocket ship up off the open. However, expecting that is how they trap and, you know, force people to lose a lot of money. So I did buy this pullback here, free market, and got 5 points. So I'm up $100 a contract on that. So pretty happy with that. This blue line is just the center of our consolidation area there. I would expect price to struggle a little bit getting through that. If it goes through that, and then you would expect price to come back down to it and then bounce off of it. So were we not 4 minutes from the open, I would be buying this right here, but I'm not gonna risk that. I'm already up a little bit of money, so I don't want to be giving money away. But you look at the daily, here's our daily chart, and you can see that we did in fact push up above this previous high. And we've still got some areas down here below us that need to clean up, and they will. It always works out. So I've obviously already been through my checklist. I've got my right account in here, got the right trade. I have different trade types. So I have a trade where most of my trades are done with a 10-point stop loss and a 10-point profit target. I also have one that has a 10-point stop loss and a 20-point profit target. Then I have a mini scalp where I do a 5 point 5 point profit, 5 point uh, loss limit. I don't use that very often. That is for very specific situations. But yeah, it's a good thing I didn't buy that. That's what I mean. It's always tough. They're always gonna make it tough. Now this is our old previous high, and we would expect price to bounce off that, but it didn't bounce off of it here. So we're now a couple of minutes from the open. When you push to a new high like that overnight, you get a lot of amateurs that are going to want to buy that. It does not mean that it will go up a bunch, or it may not go up at all. They could rip it down 500 points today. So you don't want to go into the market with a preconceived notion of what the market's going to do. Trade what you see. If I could have done that years ago, I would have saved myself a great deal of money. But it's hard to do because your brain's always wanting to solve the problem in advance, and it just doesn't work that way. So here we've had that's a pretty good down move there. We've had a 1,000 lot order come in there. Uh, so I expect this will go up, but they may very well rip it down before it does. So we'll just see what happens. We're 30 seconds from the opening, and I'm already up a little bit of money. If I didn't make another penny today, I'd be pretty happy because I'm trading 3 contracts this morning. So I've already made $300. It'd be a lot of people, and I made it in less than 20 seconds. So it'd be a lot of people work across this country today a lot harder for a lot less money. So you have to look at this realistically. If you can make a few $100s in a few minutes, that's a pretty good day. Okay, well, here we go. And they're going to bust it down. I'm still going to keep my finger on the buy market button for now. I expect this to reject. However, we'll see how far they push it down and whether it stays down or it rejects up like it's trying to do now. They've come down below this low, so they've been a little liquidity down there, but I wouldn't think a whole lot. Same thing on 5 minute. We came down below a previous low there, so they're creating liquidity there is what they're doing. So we'll see if they come back down. This is a little bit risky here. Still trying to push it down. See if they can pull it back down here again. Well, they're trying. They're fighting it. And this has been kind of a dirty market I keep talking about where we just keep pulling down and pulling down and pulling down. And so I feel pretty good about this. This will go down and fail again. All right, I'm going to try that. It made another attempt down there, and I think I can get out of this pretty cheap. Nah, they're going to. Well, I got lucky, and that was my 5 points I had previously, so I'm at break even now. Like all those closed properly. All right, so they're going to try to push this thing down a little bit. Not surprising, but I'm not going to short into this. They can run it down 1,000 points. I don't care. I'm not. I'm not going to jump in here on the short side of this right now. There's going to be some buyers come in. It's just a matter of when. But they can push this down a long ways. You don't want to underestimate their ability to screw everyone out of their money. And by them, I mean the institutional traders, the market makers. But right now, we've got two big red volume bars down, and this 5 minute bar is looking pretty tough here too. But for now, it's unbalanced trading. Should have moved my stop to even a while ago, and just been done with it. But that's all right. What you don't want to do is start buying this every time it makes a new low, assuming that it's going to go up, because it may not go up. They may run it down all day. You do not want to make those kinds of assumptions. I've lost more money than I could ever count trying to do that kind of stuff. We've got a big down bar here on the 5 minute now. Now this is unbalanced. We're not making any kind of an attempt here to come back up and balance, which leads me to believe this will be very short lived. It also makes it very difficult to trade because it will turn around very quickly and you're likely not to get anything that even remotely looks like it's trying to put at a bottom. It will just come down and turn around and go straight back up. So we'll just have to be patient. Right now, we haven't cost ourselves any money. We're sitting at basically break even within a few dollars. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. Now, we do have a gap. If we look over here on the 15-minute chart, we do have a gap down here at this level. Get that to move right there. There's a gap that they may want to try to fill. We'll see. Maybe that's their goal here is to fill the gap. That's where they opened last night. There's a little gap there, but I don't think they'll get it down that far. This is a really tough opening to trade. There's 8 or 10 common ways the market opens, and this is probably the most difficult to trade of all of them because it normally just goes and turns around and shoots straight back up if it's going to. Now it may pull back up in here into the 20 moving average, and if we get back up to the 20 moving average and get a rejection candle, then I'll have no choice but to go ahead and go short because that's a kind of my A+ setup. But we'll see what happens. See, we're starting to consolidate down here a little bit. You're starting to get some rejection wicks, but I would not confuse that with a bottom. In fact, what they typically like to do is they like to put something in down here that really looks like a bottom, and they'll come back down and it'll fail to go lower. And then, man, you got a whole bunch of people buying then, and then they rip it down and take everybody's stop losses that are all sitting right down here. So those algorithms are designed to do all that. Um, they're designed to create triangles and create different technical analysis patterns that designed to entice people into going long or going short. And but just remember, the thing is, in order for somebody to buy, somebody has to sell. So we've had a big move up overnight. So there's going to be a lot of people wanting to buy possibly. So how do they do that? Well, if everybody wants to buy, who's going to sell? Well, the market makers technically, but they don't want to get in that position. So the way they create inventory is they convince people to sell. They bring this down. They convince people to go short or to exit their long positions. And that's how inventory is created in the markets. I'm gonna try one. I'm gonna try one time here. I've lost enough money to buy a house doing this, but we're gonna give it a shot. And we're gonna keep our stop loss right there so we can't lose any more money. And if we do this, then we're gonna be in good shape. I'm not gonna let this go down here. We're gonna at least get 5 points out of it. Oh, okay. So I'm up about $175 a contract after my initial loss that I had there. I was down about 25. I lost my 100 plus another 25. Looks like all of my accounts closed out. Um, this little box here is my Apex trade copier. I can't show you all of it because it's got my account numbers and stuff in it, but um, it basically copies any trade I put into the main account to all the rest of them, but it has some quirks about it. And sometimes it will not close out a position, or sometimes it will reverse a position. In fact, I think you guys have seen me have that happen on while I was recording one day. It reversed the position on me. You just can't use this close button when you're using the Apex Trade Copier. So I'll be honest at this point, um, unless we move up here and get some kind of a rejection off of this 20 moving average, I wouldn't really know, because this thing now, it can just go straight up. It can just keep going up. If on a 5-minute chart you turn around and you run a green bar all the way up above this long red bar, then it's going to keep moving up. And that doesn't happen often. Normally you get a bit of a pullback like we're getting here, and then they're going to come down here and they're going to take this bottom on out. And they may try to get all the way down to that deal there. But if you look on the 15-minute chart here, we're getting a pretty good rejection candle right there. So now that bar still has uh, 6 minutes left before it closes. So, there's a lot can happen there. But right now, this is exactly what I was talking about this thing will go down and then it'll just go up, and it just will keep going up without any real hesitation. We didn't even try to bounce off of the 9 moving average, which is a little bit unusual. Normally, after you've had a big down move or up move, the first pullback against that, when it hits that 9 moving average, it will stop. It did not do that. So, believe it or not, about the only trades you can make now is to come down here and put in a sell stop market down there below the low, and hope that they take that low out, and you get a quick, you get a quick little push move down there, and it keeps you that type of trade keeps me from coming in here and trying to go short, and they push it up here, and then I go short, and they push it up here, and I go short, and if this thing is already done, if it's done going down and it's just going to push all the way up, it keeps me from getting killed in those kind of trades. So that's kind of why in this situation, when we've had a down move and a pullback, if we had come up here to the 20, I would have shorted that. But normally it's going to get to the 20 before it's going to reverse. And it may still do that. It may pull up here and then keep coming down. But I've just been through this enough times now that unless I see, certain things when this thing pulls back and then it'll fail and it'll pull back up and you get a rejection. The market goes down completely differently than it goes up. So the patterns are not the same. The velocity is not the same. And so I've had to learn to trade these, you know, a down move and a pullback is a perfect A plus setup under certain circumstances. But see, we didn't get a big, huge rejection candle here with a bunch of people coming in, really doing some selling. Now we're starting to get some rejection candles here. So this is starting to look like a bottom, which is exactly what they want it to look like. And usually once they get a good solid looking bottom in here, and they're getting just suckering more and more people in here on the buy side, then they'll bring it down there and take everybody out. So maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, but that's typically the way the market works. Do you think this is a fair game and this is just a bunch of people randomly buying and selling and it's just an open auction where buyers and sellers, no. You need to never trade any money if that's your honest opinion of how the markets work. If you think this isn't a controlled, manipulated game, then you have no business being here because it's the best description I can give of day trading or trading in general is if you were going to bet on a football game and the referees for that game were not only allowed to bet on the game, they were allowed to make calls to help their team win the game that they bet on, and on top of that, they're allowed to change teams. They can change their bet from one team to another anytime they want to. That's what trading is like. That's the way the markets are run. The people who run the markets are also in them to make money, and they're constantly doing things to try to keep you from making money. All right. Now, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this for one reason and one reason only, because it's going to be cheap. I can put my stop right there and I will be at break even. But this is not a good trade. I'm trading against the moving average, and this is not a good thing to do. All right, that's not going anywhere. I'm closing that out. And hope it did not reverse any of my positions because I just hit the close button, which I'm not supposed to do. All right, it looks like we're okay. Yeah, that's not a trade I'm supposed to take right there for that very reason. All right, let's see if this thing will push on down and we can pop a quick 10 here. If I can get another 10 on top of what I've already got, we got some kind of BS news coming out at 8:45 too, and I don't remember what that is. Um, Come on, push on down. Push on down. Well, this is not looking good. All right. Well, I'm down a little bit of money now. Down about $150 a contract. It did exactly what I said it would do. Now, does it keep going or does it go up? Uh, who knows? We'll see. I certainly don't see the influx of buyers that I expected to see. Now, we do have a divergence here on our RSI, and I would never, ever, ever make a trade based on that. But it is something to note. Um, Certainly something to think about. Right now, I've not lost enough money to hurt anything. So we're just going to remain calm here and see what happens. I could still make one good trade and end up profitable for the day. Apparently that news at 8:45 didn't have much of an effect on the market. I don't remember what it was. It was the Chicago Business Barometer or something. I don't know. Not anything I would think would have much of an effect on anything. This is still really looking like it wants to go down. I'm not seeing a lot of really aggressive buying coming in. So this is probably going to turn into be a typical Monday where we didn't get a lot of good opportunities. Had this pull back here come back up to the 20, I would have absolutely shorted it. It did not, however. So now we're stuck here just kind of in consolidation. And until we break above this level or below this level, there's really not a trade to be had. All right, I'm going to try this one more time. If I can get one good trade out of this, we'll be good to go. But I think this is, again, this is absolutely not a trade I'm supposed to take. Yeah, for that very reason right there. I think they're doing exactly what they normally do is they're making this thing look like a bottom, and it's not really a bottom. We could continue down for another 2 hours. In fact, if you look at the 15-minute chart, it looks to me like we're probably going to break on down. So the correct way to trade this is to wait for price to roll over above the moving average before you start taking longs. Let's see if this thing will push on down. Getting a little bit of activity here. Try to get a little bit of my money back. This will have to be my last trade if we lose money here. Yeah, we're going to lose money. Well, they're not making it easy today. Lost a little bit there, not much. We're still not too bad a shape, but certainly not the morning I was hoping for. And we just don't have any momentum here really to trade. I mean, it's moving, but it's moving around really choppy. So unfortunately, we're going to have to take a small loss for today. I'm down about $400 per account, which is not a big deal. That's a couple of good trades, and we'll be back on that tomorrow. But we're just see here, we're just chopping around. The market's really not going anywhere yet. It may later today, but right now we're not doing much. So I'm going to take my small loss and call it a day. Hopefully you guys learned something about how the market works because the market had no reason at all to go down this morning. It gone up, made a new high overnight, and this is the reality of how the market works. Is it's always trying to trap people. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, and trading's always tough.